Hi, it's Raymond Aaron, New York Times top 10 best-selling author, but I'm kind of embarrassed to say that when I'm sitting with Jack Canfield. I've written 8 books. You've written 170?
No, over 200. Edited. A lot of them are just edited.
200.
200.
All right, but what we're here to talk about is one of the most exciting books you've done, and that is Success Principles. And I remember 10 years ago, we were together and you were launching the Success Principles, and I did a testimonial for your book then. And then fast forward, it's 10 years later and you're doing the 10-year anniversary wild big revision update. Tell us what's happened in the last 10 years.
Well, in terms of the book, what's happened is we've had this digital revolution. We now have the internet, which it was there 10 years ago, but it wasn't being used like it is now. So there's a whole section added on the end of the book, about 30 pages, called Success in the Digital Age. And it talks about crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, how you can raise money on the internet. It talks about how to create your own brand, how to use YouTube in terms of creating a YouTube channel. So everything you need to know to be successful using modern technology, and also how not to get trapped by the digital age. Added a chapter on social networking and how to network in live events, written by Dr. Ivan Meisner, our friend,
yes,
and head of BNI, Business Network International. And that's a great chapter. And then also we have a chapter on leadership, which we didn't have before, because we see now, I used to think leaders were only like CEOs of corporations, but everyone really is a leader, has the potential to help other people move in a direction that needs to happen. So excited about that. But the most exciting thing, Raymond, is that in the first book 10 years ago, which that book sold almost 800,000 copies now, close to 1 million in 37 languages around the world.
Wow.
But what's really exciting is in the first book, all the stories to illustrate the principles, along with the techniques for each principle, were stories of famous people, like Donald Trump and Olympic athletes and all that. And now they're stories of people who read the first book and actually applied the principles and had radical changes in their life.
And sent you the testimonial unsolicitedly.
Sent the testimonial unsolicited. Well, sometimes I was in Dubai, for example. I met a guy, he came to my workshop, and he came up and he said, "You changed my life." And he told me, I said, you got to write that up, or I have to interview you, But I mean, there was a guy with brain damage. He'd been in an accident, sheared off the top of his head, they put it back together, but he was totally depressed, couldn't read, couldn't dress himself. He was just lying in bed for 2 years. And it was just TV on in the background all the time. And I'm up in Toronto and doing this workshop, and then I had this interview in the media. And so I come, the guy says, okay, after this interview, Jack Canfield is going to be here and tell you how to get from where you are to where you want to be. And Forrest Willis lying there going, well, I want to get from where I am to where I don't like where I am at all. So he kind of takes the covers down, looks up, watches the television show, gets his wife to buy my book. He's reading at the 3rd grade level because he couldn't read anymore, so he had to reteach himself to read. And his coach said, "You'll never be able to read this book. It's way too thick." He says, "You watch." And so he read the book over the course of a year and a half. And now he is one of the most successful people. He's an entrepreneur. He came and took my train-the-trainer program. He's a motivational speaker. He's now getting the kind of letters that he sent me.
Right.
And that is so thrilling. I actually opened the book with his story because it's such a, how low could you be and get to this height?
Yeah.
I was recently in Tehran, Iran, and a 16-year-old comes up to me at my seminar, 800 people, and he says, "This is the day I've been waiting for 2 years," and he starts to cry. It turns out he read my book in Farsi, which they don't even pay royalties in Iran. They just take the book and that's fine with me. So he says, I'm applying everything you do. He taught himself English so he could meet me. And then he's wanting to go to Harvard and study medicine. And I told him I'll write him a letter of recommendation because I actually went there. So it's like, that's the kind of thing that happens to me all the time, walking through the airport and someone will come up and say, "I bought your book in the Singapore airport and I realized I wanted to make a difference in the world. My purpose wasn't in banking anymore." And he went to the World Bank, got a whole bunch of money, now is growing food in the desert in one of the countries in Northern Africa. But I mean, those are the kind of things, and I just sit there going, wow.
What a difference you've made.
Yeah, it blows my mind.
So many people.
Blows my mind.
And not just the 800,000 who bought your book, but I'm sure they've distributed it to others. Other people have read it. They've taught other people about it.
Right. Which tells me, one of my goals for this year is actually, we set a goal to have 1 million people training the Success Principles by the year 2030.
Wow.
And we now have trained 500 people, all live in 40 countries. And now what we're going to do is we've just created a home study program, and people can actually learn how to do experiential groups, become a great keynote speaker, all that, and train these principles online. And so now we literally, the leverage of online means we could reach 100,000 people a year. And think about this, if you got 1 million people training other people
on these success principles,
do the math. It only takes like about 7 million people that they get to over a period of, let's say, 30 years, and you've reached all 7 billion people on the planet. How cool is that?
That's a noble cause,
Yeah.
and you're the man to do it.
Thank you.
I loved the first Success Principles book to some extent because I was in it.
Yes, you were.
You loved one of the ideas that I had. You used it as an example.
Well, you're still in the second book, too.
Yes, I have a question about that.
Yes.
You said that you had world famous people as examples in the
Right.
first one, and you said that people who actually learned from it, ordinary people, got their examples in the second one.
Right.
So am I ordinary or am I a world famous hero?
I was just afraid if I didn't leave you in a book, you would never interview me again. So no, I'm teasing. No, that was such a great story. It just had to be, and again, to illustrate this point of like, you do what you love, delegate the rest. And you're a famous person, of course you are. But I couldn't take that story out.
Thank you. I enjoy it. But 10 years has gone by. You've got the proof that it works.
Right.
10 years ago, we knew that it worked because we're all teaching these principles.
Right.
Not as many. I've never put
Right.
them all together like you did. But I looked at them, I said, man, these principles work. And so I gave you that great endorsement. But now it's proof that it works because so many people have told you that it works.
Right.
And what are you doing now? Why is the book different? What's happening now?
What's happening now? What do you mean by that?
Well, you've told me that you've updated it.
Oh, yeah.
So they can get this new book.
Right.
And does it have the same name?
Oh, yeah, it's called The Success Principles, the 10th anniversary revised edition, totally updated. Everything that was out of date got updated. There's some of the resources that are in there for, how to find a coach and all this kind of stuff. Some of them moved, so we gotta update
right.
that. But basically, it's all the basic principles are still there. Added, like I said, about 6 or 7 new. There's 100 new pages in the book.
Wow.
100 new pages. And what's fascinating about the book's fairly thick. But what's interesting about it, they found a thinner stock that's absolutely just as good. You can't see through the page. The new book with 100 additional pages is actually thinner than the original book. And my staff has all read it, and they're applying some of the new stuff. And the people at the publishing company, this is so cool. I went to the publishing company you got to talk to the PR department, tell them what's new about the book. And they're all writing me now, talking about what's happening. This one woman goes home and she reads the chapter on E + R = O, take 100% responsibility in your life, to her daughter. And on Monday, the mother was complaining about something, and her daughter goes, Mom, E + R = O, event plus response equals outcome. Your response isn't going to give you the outcome you want. So I said, oh my God, if my daughter can get it. And I'll share a really cool story. A 15-year-old writes me an email a couple years ago. And he says, my mom never reads books. She brought your book home. I thought, why? I got to find out why she would buy that book. He said, I was getting F's in school. I was ditching classes. I was smoking marijuana, drinking a lot, getting into trouble. And he said, I read your book. It took me 3 days. I read the whole thing cover to cover. And he said, I stayed up at night. So now I'm getting all A's. I'm not ditching school. I stopped smoking marijuana. I'm not drinking anymore. And my life's on track. That was from reading a book.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that buy the book and they give it to their brother who's an alcoholic, or they give it. One person gave it to their brother who was on Skid Row, basically, and he thought nothing of it, and he didn't even read it. Then he gets into rehab, gets a little sober, says, I can't relate to that guy. He's wearing a suit, right? And so finally he opens it up, he starts reading, he says, well, this is a down-to-earth guy. He's really cool. So he gets to the part about your life purpose and realizes he's always loved martial arts. And so he starts teaching martial arts to the people that are in the rehab center. And now he's a martial arts instructor, started his own gardening business. His life's totally under control. And I mean, that's the kind of thing. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be a CEO and double or triple your income, or you could be someone at the bottom of the ladder. So I always say, you must know someone in your life who could use this. And teenagers, all the way up to, I think the oldest guy it was a woman, she was 81. She said, you know, I'd given up on life. My doctor died, you know, all my friends were dead, you know, and I thought life was over. Then I realized when I got to the part about make a list of everything you would do if you could, and she said, I wanted to go on a cruise. And anyway, she's been around the world now. She's doing all these great things, and she's 83 now.
Wow. So what is the conclusion? Make sure you get the 10th anniversary revision of his book. You get it from Amazon, of course. But the official Canadian launch of this book, the relaunch, the launch of the brand new book, will be in Toronto, Canada on April 11-12. And all you have to do is go to the website that you can see on the screen, make sure you attend and get to see Jack in person. You can get his book there and actually experience the book instead of just reading it.
There you go. I look forward to being there with you.